Hi, this is Vanessa Wishstar,
And I'm Steve Wishstar.
and we are the Wishstar Dream Team. We're still in bed. Everything happens in bed
Every podcast has been from this point.
in this in the dream world
But this
for
one's the
the
first one from the
Wishstar Dream Team. Of
Vero
course,
team.
it's in bed.
From the Vero bed.
We'll play Enya in the background. Today is Happy Beltane,
Yes.
May Day.
May Day. 2022.
Yep. I'm about to have low battery, but whatever. So what we were obviously back up because we always we're always in like a retrograde. Our podcast is retrograded.
Because we always talk about a whole bunch of things and then we say, we should record this.
Yeah. We were actually talking about something really personal and kind of eye-opening for us at least, and just kind of I think for society in general, right?
Uh-huh.
What were we talking
About what we're thankful for, essentially.
Yeah.
How we feel lucky.
Yeah, so we were talking about okay, so I think we're trying to think of like what exactly is it that we're talking about because it's so big. And we were basically kind of discussing prior about how not just getting our needs met, but how our needs are already met and beyond the expectation of what you think your needs are, and kind of like having almost this review or different viewpoint from a higher perspective of what is occurring. So right now we're in Florida. We have been living here. First, we were living with family on and off from landslide because we were in a landslide. As you go back in our other podcasts, and we are survivors, I guess, or evacuees and survivors of a landslide in Haines, Alaska. And it was extremely traumatic, and you could listen to that in previous episodes. But so we ended up having to temporarily leave. We're not able to live in our house, and our house is going through foreclosure right now. The one in Haines, Alaska, and it's a whole entire long, dramatic story. So we were basically homeless, and so we ended up coming down to the lower 48, and that was another trauma experience. And then we have been living like foster kids from family to family, whoever will basically have enough room to take us in. And then we ended up in Florida, and then we decided, hey, we need to maybe figure out how to live here more seasonally and actually have a roof over our head, because we kept on mysteriously getting removed from family members' places in weird, odd circumstances that we weren't able to live there any longer. So basically kicked out. Not personally though, but yeah, it was very weird. And then we realized we had to get something more permanent. And so we ended up living in Vero Beach, and it has been amazing. But it's seasonal, and right now we are stuck essentially. The universe is, I shouldn't use that word any longer because it's not appropriate. It's not accurate. We are grounded here, and I guess, we're just following the way of it. So whatever shows up, this is the way of it. And we were supposed to leave April 22nd, and we all got horribly sick. It was not COVID, but some parts felt worse than COVID. And we got so horribly sick, we could not travel for the sake of humanity and, making sure we didn't spread germs respectfully. And then also, we could have traveled, but it would have been horrid and just a Groundhog Day experience of the beginning of all this stuff. So anyway, so now we are here. It is May 1st, as we've told you, and we are here till later in June, and then supposedly, I don't know. So what's the story? The story is that this is our new way of being, right? Mm-hmm. Our new life. And we're getting used to this, in the moment living and allowing and pure alignment. And so we were talking about how for us, we had a really amazing May Day last year in Haines, Alaska. And maybe we'll put up a video or something. It was just so beautiful. Yeah, just so beautiful. We did it with our friends in Haines. We call them family. I mean, everybody's family, but just like really just people who are our family. And it was just a really beautiful, beautiful moment in time. And it was wonderful. I have so much to say about it, but I might cry. So we had a really amazing time, and I'll try to see if I could upload a video or something somewhere. Probably on Facebook, on our Facebook page, I'll upload it there. And it was really hard because there's a big part of us that, it's hard when you want to be somewhere else, but yet you're here. And everybody thinks, they look at our life, of course, out of context, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, you have such a dream life. And we think they're crazy. And then we kind of, respectfully say, oh, well, the reason why that's viewed that way and how we maybe should start viewing it that way is what?
Well, you asked me what do I need, in life? And it's like, what am I getting here? And I'm getting more family time here. Yeah. And that's what I really feel like I really wanted. So we got to go to an air show yesterday as a family. We got to go to the farmer's market. We try to do that every Saturday. And it just feels like...
And also seeing your family.
Yeah, and seeing my
family.
Yep.
Having that opportunity, because when you're in Alaska, you're just so remote that you don't... Getting people there or leaving is really next to impossible.
Yep. So we made plans for even next year of, seeing family. So it feels like it's settling into, I knew that I needed it, but it was hard to manifest it, in the old circumstances. And so it's nice to realize.
Yeah. So that's what we were talking about. Thank you for saying that. Because I totally was like, what were we talking about? Yes. So it was honoring what we actually needed. And this goes beyond what we think we need. Okay. Because what we think we need, I mean, everybody goes there, is what we think we need is we need more money. What we think we need is we need a bigger house. What we think we need is we need more certain connections, more friends, more whatever, a better job, whatever it is. And I feel like, especially moving to Alaska, our daughter might interrupt us for a second. She's just getting up. But what we realized is that we were on the fast track to not needing anything. This was our goal. We lived in the mountains of Colorado. We practiced the art of not needing, we lived semi-remotely, but very easily accessible to goods and services. And then we amplified it by obviously moving to Alaska. That was our goal. And so then we finally go to, good morning. 1 second. Okay. So we are then going to Alaska and basically dismantling our needs. I don't know what it would be called, but shedding our needs. That's the goal. That you think that, oh, I could live without. So we keep on doing this, and we keep on getting what skimpier and skimpier, and just allowing that to shed itself, so we could really be more self-sufficient. And even though we were really self-sufficient, but
I guess we were aiming for trying to be in the moment.
Yeah.
By shedding things.
Yeah.
Trying to give ourselves more time, more
peace, more time, more presence. Yeah, all the things that we try to achieve or absorb something that isn't viable. So, Raven wants to eat. Okay, hold on. Okay, sorry for that interruption. Or it's not really an interruption.
It's an interruption for us.
Well, pause.
Pause for us, but you didn't know that.
Yeah. So here we are. We're going to Alaska. We're kind of, the ego is obviously in full force, because that's just how it is. That's reality, of, doing less is more. That's kind of like, go to Alaska, less is more, live without.
And do less.
Meaning,
do the less part. Like, put effort into doing less. That makes
well,
sense.
no, that's a little different. That's more, that was kind of like our undercurrent of like, that's the simple. So that would probably be categorized under simplify, like make it count. Because really in Alaska, you actually end up doing more. Our goal is obviously doing less, because we were such workhorses. But, that's our goal, is just, and I think the general goal of being an Alaskan is just simplify your entire life, But here's the trip up. It's not even close to simple. If anything, well, it's definitely harder. Every single thing is harder. And everybody knows that, but I think that's not the poster,
Right.
of Alaska. The poster is, how many things do you go on Facebook and be like, if I gave you $1 million, would you live in this cabin, this 1-room cabin without Wi-Fi and blah, blah. And it's just like, who would not, like, why would you have to even give me money? Like, okay. But like, who wouldn't do that? Maybe there is people who wouldn't, but I don't know. The point is that, we went there not necessarily to simplify. A lot of people do that. We already were simplified, and so we were just kind of almost testing our skill set, I guess, maybe, and I think that we did really well. But here's the big trip up, is that's encouraged. It's kind of like the monk viewpoint of, you don't need. And that is correct. You don't need, because what we found is that even when everything was erased, our entire livelihood, survival, everything was erased, then you shift into the understanding of how you actually are always provided for. You could hear that a lot in, spiritual books and so forth of, oh, well, you'll be provided for. The universe just has a way of it showing up. And that's true. But rarely do we get the opportunity to really see that in physical force. And so we got to experience that in 3D world. And it came in spades. It was mainly, I really, really account it to, honestly, 100% is to our community of Hanes. We only survived because of them. If we were anywhere else, we would be lost in paperwork and, everything else.
Yeah, because we would have had to flee the community, like totally. I don't know what we would have done, but yes, we would not have gotten
It would probably be
foot
more
feet
legal
underneath us.
issue, like for us right now, we have, there's nothing. There's no insurance. There's nothing covering it. FEMA's not covering it. We have no financial help in that way at all. It is a complete 100% loss and negative, But aside from all that, if you're in the lower 48 and that happened, you would probably fall more under a different umbrella. So they would be having their community in the lower 48 would be more a financial, so it'd be more legal stuff. That's probably what would happen.
So what you're saying is the community in Haines helped us on an emotional level, but if we were down in the lower 48, the community would have basically only helped us in
A financial
level.
correct.
And
Yeah.
because we would have missed the emotional support.
Exactly.
I mean, except
Emotional
for close
and
friends.
semi-physical support, I mean, they've definitely, people were trying to help us find housing, and housing in Haines is impossible. Like impossible. There just isn't any. So, yeah, that I would definitely say Haines really stepped up in that. And yeah, so that's the overall. So the point is that then the universe, gives us or our highest self, I should say, has a contract of basically saying, hey, let's maybe walk through this experience, because we are in constant searching of, of higher alignment, of kind of like, dismantling the ego, so even, and the ego is so tricky. You think like, oh, well, what's so wrong about simplifying? What's so wrong about what's so wrong about letting go? And, as a book I was just reading, they're talking about the hustle, and it's just like, well, that's still a hustle. That's still like, oh, well, I'm letting go. I don't need this stuff. That's still a hustle. It's still the egos in there of thinking that you don't need. So it's not necessarily, just because it's the opposite doesn't mean that it's the spiritual antithesis. I don't know what the word would be, of enlightenment. Enlightenment isn't really a thought, or isn't a thing to achieve. It's unachievable because it's not a thing. It's not an attainment. So it's just literally the light in us, essentially. So the point is that we go to Alaska, we try to do this, we almost, and there's also the ego of like, oh, it's better for society if we are like this. We are contributing instead of taking, it's that environmentalist kind of, mentality of, try to not be so burdensome on anything, and here, then the other problem for us is that we go through this whole landslide situation and you feel like 100% of a burden, and we are very of the mindset and the doingness of helping our neighbors. We always did this in our entire lives, help your neighbor with pure joy we have, but there's still ego in that, because why? It makes you feel good.
Right.
And we're addicted to feeling good. Okay. So, right. If you want to know if my ego's in this, are you feeling good? Does it make you feel good? That's probably ego. I will tell you where ego is not. It's pure vulnerability. And pure vulnerability doesn't mean that you're unsafe. Pure vulnerability is your divine connection that whatever is happening, whatever is perfect, even in the state of chaos. And that is, that's where ego is no longer. So we got to experience that on a continual basis. And we woke up. And so then we keep on end up not necessarily having to shed in the sense of like less is more. It's just that we, on a higher level, I believe that we, I don't want to use the word chose, but I'm just going to use it very loosely here. We chose to experience the fully letting go. And that's when we traveled to the lower 48 because we really had no home to live in. Long story. You'll see it in another podcast, meaning before this one. And we left, and then that whole life also, the last of us holding on to our house, which was on wheels,
The RV.
and our vehicle, yeah, which is our RV, both of that is our RV, was kaput.
It broke down.
It broke down multiple times in the worst place possible, and we had to let it go. So we had nothing, which was worse. We had stuff in storage, which is like, just like, it's like having a backpack that you lost, or a backpack that was left in like baggage claim somewhere else, and you're homeless.
Right.
Like, it was the most ridiculous thing. And you have to pay for your backpack. So, which, first of all, shout out to the people or the person who we had our storage stuff. He gave us a huge gift for a temporary time of not paying that and still charging us a very little amount. So huge. Again, those are the huge, gigantic, angelic helpers that have been our saving grace, and that we honestly owe our life to. I just feel like in a very blessed way, like not just how to pay it forward, but how to just pure appreciation for their generosity. Point is, we had to let everything go. What is my point? Where am I going?
It's not just letting the physical go, like, the physical house and the physical needing our stuff in our hands. And it was stepping away from the egoic thought of
egoic
needs of around that stuff. So yes, we still have our stuff. It's in storage, but but we can't quite get to it right now. So it's a opportunity, a time to let go of the need, so we don't have to acquire any more stuff, but we don't have to sell any of that stuff. And we went through that also. So it's really getting to the point of, well, what do I have right now? That just getting more into the now moment.
Yeah. And so the other thing is like really understanding that you actually do have needs. And this is kind of what we wanted. This is what our podcast was kind of about. And understanding that those needs aren't necessarily the same as your egoic needs. So you're going to think that, oh, my needs are, hey, I need to be rich. Hey, I need to have a place here, or I need to live there, or I need peace, or I need a cabin in the woods and give me $1 million, please. All those type of needs, And what we realized is that your needs are already being accounted for. And so here's what happens. Here's a very kind of a one sentence kind of situation of what happens. The universe goes and says, okay, you're asking for this higher experience. Here it is. We go through the trauma, not like anybody asked for a landslide or anything like that. I believe that's just more of how it is, But we're asking for what we can gain out of what is experience. Okay. So what we're gaining is landslide happens, trauma, help, all the helpers come out. We realize that we actually do need help. Okay? Not on an egoic level, actually on the opposite of egoic, because it's extremely humbling to have to need help, in so many different ways. It's actually horrible, but we needed that on a higher consciousness. So a consciousness level, we needed help. Okay. So the community at large, and not just Haynes community, but I mean, our collective community. I've had people from all over the world donate and really give support, give real genuine compassion and love and their kids' toys to me, mailing, putting on other, people went on groups and made groups and suggested, say, hey, this family is in desperate need. Can we go and, collect our used clothes to give to their kids? That level, it's inspired, I guess, a collective, to really activate where they can give on a higher level. So this was bigger than obviously us. And then basically our needs were, we needed serious healing, and we also needed vitamin D. I did not know this. We needed fresh fruit. We needed all these different things that I always thought as a luxury. So here we were led all the way down to Florida. And, if you listen, obviously in past podcasts, it was a horror trip. It wasn't something that we're like, oh yes, let's just go take a plane ride. Couldn't even do that. Like, getting there was so traumatic and tragic that you question, do I really need this? I wasn't going there for my needs. I was going there to try to get a roof over my head and my kid's head in a safer environment, because winter was coming and it's just too harsh to live in an environment where you don't have stability or really a roof over your head, that suits you. So we definitely were in a bigger need than we even noticed. And so we go down to the south, and then we start to kind of like allow ourselves to ease into the body, essentially, and revisit peace. It came in a very turbulent time. It's not like it was peace. There was trips to hospitals and other situations that people don't know about. But the point is that we were being led on a higher level of what our needs were. And then we finally come to this place, where we are now. Here we are grounded again, not being able to get back home. A lot of people say, oh, there's certain signs about that. Trust me, I am the queen of signs in my psychic practice, and that is not it. I will hopefully maybe do a podcast or a video podcast about that, because it's really important to understand what signs, how to interpret signs. Oh, Raven has to go potty. 1 second. I don't even know where we left off.
Another.
We'll just have to yeah. So the point is that what were you saying?
That
we have to realize.
We have to kind of open our eyes to realize that, our needs are being met.
Yeah, before we ask, and how they show up, and realize, if you look at it, real eyes, Michael Brown talks a lot about that, real eyes is real eyes, like looking real through your eyes, that it's already happening. Your needs are already being met. And I think when we go throughout our life, this is one of the big highlights that I love to do, is that when you really look how it's already happening, all your desires of what it's just coming in a different way. And then we're just pouting usually because we think that we need da, 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 da. And it's just like, well, we are already getting it. It's just happening in a different way, and it's usually already happening, so if we can like look at that. So, and a lot of times for us, like, especially because of this whole situation, how they always, especially like Abraham, Esther Hicks and so forth, talks about appreciation and how potent that is. And I think that's great. And I highly suggest that. But with a twist. Okay, because a lot of people get like, oh, just appreciate. And it's just like, no, just go to the place of whatever's coming up, get real with that, sit in that, be quiet with that, and appreciation just naturally arises because it can't help itself. So I don't search for appreciation, just kind of allow it to percolate by being with it, whatever it is, whatever's coming up for you. So let me give an example. What you have epiphany about?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So here we are, and a lot. Oh my gosh! If Ray, you could hear her in the background, be like, "More honey." Oh my God! I feel like I'm gonna go bonkers. How can I appreciate? This is it. This is the work in motion. Yeah, the sweetness of life, kind of like this stop and go. This is another thing, of the stop and go, of not really having a full thought of like the epiphanies are just kind of like in this very present moment. And I think if we really go and kind of dance with what is happening, like a lot of people see our lives right now, Steve's in my life, of being charmed, of being, oh, well, they went through hell, so then they must have the opposite, happen also, of like everything really great. And it's just like, well, we all have it really great. We just rarely talk about it because we don't have contrast. For us right now, there's such huge contrast. Everything's going to look really great. So me talking about fruit and how I have an abundance of fruit. Why? Because I'm in Florida. Hello. I'm not going to talk about that in Haines, Alaska, because I won't have it in Haines, Alaska, except during berry season. But I don't have this fruit. So I'm going to talk about it because it is in such contrast. So usually you might not feel that you have anything appreciative for because you don't have that strong of contrast. Trust me, you do not want strong contrast. I do not suggest it. Learn from your friends, learn from us. We'll be your friend, of using our experience that, hey, I don't really need that to understand that, So really kind of using our experience for your own. So appreciation might be, oh my gosh, I have grass. I have to cut the grass. Oh my gosh, I feel so grateful I get to cut the grass. Guess what? Because that means I have grass, some things, instead of like, God damn, I have to cut the damn grass, you're really lucky that you have grass. Trust me, I've lived in a place that in an apartment in the center of town, I didn't have grass. I would pay anything for grass at that moment. Like it was so hard not to have green space. So even though we're in the wilds of Alaska, like that was like the irony of it. So those little things, those things that we just take for granted, try not to need contrast for appreciation, and sometimes it'll feel very fake at first. I know that especially living in urban areas, you just feel like your heart is longing for, the wild. And it is, for me, I know it was very worth it of experiencing that. I'm really grateful I get the privilege and the life to be able to live seasonally. I've worked extremely hard to get that. But even if I didn't, it's still a value to me. And the point is that really finding appreciation, and it will feel fake in the beginning of like, oh, trees, I'm so grateful I have trees. And you'll just feel like, oh, duh. Like, but maybe what I found is doing little celebratory things about the trees. Okay. So saying, hey, maybe I could plant a tree right now. If I can't plant in my yard, maybe I could go to a park, or not a park, but like a green space, that people aren't aware. And maybe I could plant a tree there. Nobody will know, You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Little ceremonial stuff that you can do for your appreciation. That I felt works for me. Like today, even though we've had an amazing May Day in Haines, Alaska last year, and it was it was like the most serene, picturesque kind of beauty that May Day could possibly bring. Here we're doing it in urban territory, and I couldn't find ribbon, even though I'm in the land of plenty. I couldn't, like, all these different things. And at first I was like, oh, starting to feel stressed. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is like, I have worked so hard to get to this place. There's no way I'm going to allow myself to stress and freak out about something so simple. So I ended up finding knitted rope, those big crochet, those chunky knit things. And I found a whole bunch of rope like that. And do you have a boo-boo? Oh, are you happy about your boo-boo? Yeah, so we can rub it. Again, contrast. So anyway, I found ribbon, and we're just going to wrap it around a tree, and maybe our neighbors will come out. Maybe they won't, we'll see. Well, it doesn't matter. The point, and maybe we won't do it at all. That's it. That's the true appreciation of just do what is being already provided. See where it's already showing up for you. I feel like that's, if we could learn anything from, let's say, Steve's and my experience, is that's it. It's already here. It's already showing up, and I think that we just all miss it because we have a dream, and if anything, I'm grateful that we're now dreaming awake because it's already happening. Yeah. So, happy Beltane. Happy May Day. International Union workforce also. Of not necessarily working less, but working for a better reason. Working towards, a healthy ego and working towards appreciation. That's the fertility of today. Yeah. Okay. I guess signing off. I'm so happy that we got to do this again. It's been a while. So
Exactly.
Thank you for listeners. Thank you for showing up and listening to us. And hopefully this was semi-clear. All right. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.